Welcome, folks, to week 3 of CMP 375 course. Uh, this week we are going to cover three main topics. One will be the interfaces, one of the most important topic to understand how they are designed and why they are designed the way they appear and which one to choose from. Then we are going to discuss the data gathering, how the data gathering is performed, and then how the data which we have gathered through questionnaires, interviews, observation, how we are going to analyze them and interpret them and then present them to our intended audience or stakeholder. So let us start with the interfaces. Interfaces are different types of interfaces are there. They basically highlight the main design research issues for each of the different interfaces. And we need to be very careful which interface is to choose from and which is the best for a given activity or application. There is now a diversity of interfaces which are available nowadays because with the help of the technology. The goal is always to consider how to design interfaces for different environment, people, places and activity. Here on this slide you can see 20 types of interfaces starting with the command base and ending with the brain computer. For each one we present an overview and will outline the key research and design concern. Some are only briefly touched while others we will try to establish in interaction design more in depth. Numerous adjectives have been used to describe the different type of interfaces that have been developed including graphical, command, speech, multi-modal, invisible, ambient, mobile, intelligent, adaptive, tangible, touchless, natural. Some of the interface types are primarily concerned with a function, for example to be intelligent, to be adaptive, to be ambient, while other focus on interaction style use like for example command, graphical, multimedia, the input output device used like example pen based, speech based, or the platform being used like PC, mobile, tabletop. The interface types are loosely ordered in terms of when they are developed. They are numbered to make it easy to find for a particular one. It should be noted, however, that this classification is for convenience. The interface entries are not mutually exclusive since some products can appear in two categories. For example, a smartphone can be considered to be either mobile or touch. The table 6.1 in your textbook, which is basically being presented in this slide, uh, suggests which interfaces are related or have design issues in common. So let's take them one by one. Command based interfaces. You could have an abbreviation like list command and you will get the list of current files. Some are hardwired at keyboards, other can be assigned to key for your efficient, precise and fast access. Large overhead to learning set of commands is always there. So number two category is WIMP and GUI, basically window, icons, menu, and pointing device, which was started with the Xerox, by the Xerox, and then later on give rise to the GUI, which we all are very much familiar with. So all those, it encompasses all the aspects of the window: scrolling, stretching, overlap, close, move around. Icons means objects, commands, so person will be able to recognize what to be done, and the menus, listing of the options, and then the pointing device, mouse controlling cursors, and all those, which are as a point of entry to the windows. So let's do an activity quickly, and you will be your own judge. Sketch simple icons to represent the operation to appear on digital camera. Like, the operations could be: delete the last picture taken, delete all pictures stored, format memory card, and then see how does it appears to you with the, and then compare it with one of your digital camera if you have at home, how you, what kind of the icons they have used and what kind of the icons you came up with. Now the third interface type, multimedia. Combine different media, like for example, uh, a graphic, text, video, sound, animation. User clicks on the link in an image or text, another part of the program start execution, and an animation or video clip is played and can return to where they were or move on to another place. So the fourth type is virtual reality, basically the illusion of participation in synthetic environment rather than external observation of such an environment. It provides new kind of experience, enabling the users to interact with objects and navigate the 3D space. Remember, in previous lectures we talked about the second life. It's a totally different experience. You yourself become an avatar and try to communicate with others related objects. It helps to create highly engaging user experience. So look at this little activity. There are two pictures out there. Which is the most engaging game of Snake? It's about realism versus abstraction. One of the challenges facing interaction designer is whether to use realism or abstraction when designing an interface. This means designing objects either to give the illusion of behaving and looking like a real world counterpart or appear as abstraction of the object being represented. This concern is particularly relevant when implementing conceptual models that are deliberately based on an analogy with some aspect of the real world. For example, is it preferable to design a desktop to look like a real desktop, a virtual house to look like a real house, or virtual train to look like a real train? Or alternatively, is it more effective to design representation as simple abstract prediction depicting only a few silent features? One of the main benefits of using realism at the interface is that it can enable people to feel more comfortable when first learning an application. The rationale behind this is that such representation can readily tap into people's understanding of physical world. Hence, the hence realistic interfaces can help user initially understand the underlying conceptual model. In contrast, overly schematic and abstract representation can appear to be too computer-like and may be off-putting to the newcomer. The advantage of more abstract interfaces, however, is that they can be more efficient to use. Furthermore, the more experienced user becomes, the more they may find comfortable interfaces no longer to their liking. A dilemma facing designers today is deciding between creating interfaces to make novice user feel comfortable and designing interfaces to be effective for more experienced user. Now look at information visualization type of interfaces. Computer generated interactive graphics of complex data amplify human cognition, and it helps users to see patterns, trends, and anomalies in visualization. Techniques include three-dimensional interactive map that can be zoomed in and out, which present data via web, trees, clusters, scatter plot, diagrams, and interconnected nodes. Let's talk a little bit about usability versus attractive. You can have vanilla or multi-flavor design, ease of finding something versus aesthetic and enjoyable experience. User read the web like a billboard going by at 60 miles an hour. Need to determine how to brand a web page to catch and keep the eyeball there. The rule of the thumb is that you have 4 to 10 seconds to catch the eyeball. So web advertising has become pervasive and invasive. Advertisers realized how effective flashing and animated ads were for promoting their product, taking inspiration from animated neon sign light adverts used in city centre such as London Piccadilly Circus. But since the banner ads emerged in the 90s, they have become even more cunning and aggressive in their tactics. In addition to designing ever flashier banners, ads, more intrusive kind of web ads have begun to appear on the screen. Short movies, garish cartoon animation, often with sound, now pop up in floating windows that zoom into view or tag on at the front end of the online newspaper or magazine news video clip. Moreover, this new breed of in-your-face web ads often requires the user to either sit and wait till its end or find a checkbox to close the window down. This can be really annoying to have to do, especially when multiple and ad windows open up. Sites that provide free services such as Facebook, YouTube, and Gmail have also become populated with web ads. Many people choose to ignore them or simply put up with them. However, an advertiser get even more aggressive in their tactics. There will be a point where that will become harder to do, as we are seeing nowadays. The problem is advertiser pays significant revenues to online companies to have their adverts placed on their website, entitling them to say where and what and how they should appear. The seventh category is consumer electronic and appliances. Like for example, in our homes, public places, your washing machines, remotes are there, photocopiers are there, personal devices like MP3, digital clock would be used for short periods, putting the washing on, watching a program, buying a ticket, need to be usable with minimum if any learning. Now look at mobile, which is a part of our daily life. This has have become pervasive, increasingly used in all aspects of everyday. Applications are running like are used in restaurant to take orders, you order your meal, you do banking, you play the games while on the train riding, and in education to support lifelong learning. Ninth one is the speech, where a person talks with a system that has spoken language. Applications, timetable, travel planner, also used by the people with disabilities, help them speech recognition, word processor are there, page scanners, web readers, home control system. And they have been there for ages, enable people to write, draw, select. Basically, they capitalize on the well-honed drawing skills developed from the childhood. Many digital pens are available on auto use a combination of ordinary ink pen with digital camera that digitally records everything written with the pen on a special paper. Now look at the touch type of interface. Touch screens such as walk-up kiosks detect the presence and location of a person. Touch on the display. Their multi-touch supports range from more dynamic fingertips, swiping, flicking, pinching, now used for many kinds of display. You can see in the smartphones, iPods, tablets, and tabletops. The next one is the air-based gestures, uses camera recognition, sensors, and computer vision techniques. They can recognize people body, arm, hand gesture. System include Kinect and ITO are the categories which are using air-based gestures. Movements are mapped onto a variety of gaming motions such as swinging, bowling. In the Wii system, players represented on the screen as avatar doing same action. A key design concern for using air-based gestural input is to consider how a computer system recognizes and delineates the user's gesture. In particular, how does it determine the start and end point of a hand or arm movement? And how does it know the difference between a gesture and hand waving that is used to emphasize what is being said verbally? Another key design issue is whether holding a control device feel more intuitive for the game or other activity than controller free gestures. Sometimes it clearly is better to be holding something when, for example, hitting a ball with a bat. Other time it may be better hand free, such as when dancing or doing aerobics. Now look at the haptic. Tactical feedback, applying vibration and forces to a person's body using actuators that are embedded in their clothing or devices they are carrying, such as cell phone, can enrich user experience or nudge them to correct errors. Can also be used to simulate the sense of touch between remote people who want to communicate. This new technology, haptics, are now commonly used in gaming console and controller to heighten the experience. Haptic feedback is also being developed in clothing and other wearables as a way of simulating being touched, stroked, prodded, and buzzed. A promising application area is sensory motor skills, such as in sports training and learning to play a musical instrument. For example, patterns of vibration have been played across snowboarders' bodies to indicate which move to take while snowboarding. A study reported faster reaction time than when the same instruction were given verbally. A key design question is where best to place the actuators on the body, whether to use a single or a sequence of touches, when to activate, when intensity, and how often to use them to make the feeling of being touched convincing. People would also habituate too quickly to the feedback. Intermittent buzzes can be effective at key moments when a person needs to attend to something but not necessarily tell them what to do. For example, a study by the Johnson of a commercially available haptic device in 2010 intended to improve the postures through giving people a vibrotactile buzz wherever they slouched, found that while the buzzing did not show them how to improve their posture, it did improve their body awareness. Now, multi-modal, meant to provide enriched and complex user experience, multiplying how information is experienced, like touch, sight, sound, speech, support more flexible, efficient, and expressive means of human-computer interaction. Most common is speech and vision. Shareable interfaces are designed for more than one person, provide multiple inputs, and sometimes allow simultaneous input by co-located groups. Interactive tabletops, where small groups interact with information using their fingertips, diamond touch, smart table, and surface. And in the next one slide is a smart board. Tangible type of sensor-based interaction, like bricks, are coupled with digital representation. When a person manipulates the physical object, it causes a digital effect to occur, and animation. Digital effects can take place in a number of media and places, or can be embedded in the physical object. Now look at the augmented and mixed reality type of interfaces. Augmented reality's virtual representation are superimposed on physical devices and objects. Mixed reality view of the real world are combined with views of a virtual environment. Many applications, including medicine, games, flying, and everyday exploring are taking advantage of this technology. Wearables like eyewear mounted cameras that enable you to record what was seen and to access digital information, provide the user with a means of interacting with digital information while on the move. The latest one has been, as you must have seen, the Google's glasses, which is very much in. Imagine being at a party and being able to access the Facebook of a person whom you have just met while or after talking to her to find out more about her. The possibility of having instant information before one very own eyes that is contextually relevant to an ongoing activity and that can be viewed without having to physically pull out a smartphone is very appealing. Robots. There are four types are there as we have also studied in previous lectures. Remote robots used in hazardous setting like in the painting shop in a car manufacturing setup. Domestic robots helping around the house, which is very famous in Japan. Pet robots as human companion. Sociable robots that work collaboratively with humans and communicate and socialize with them as if they were our peers. And the last but not the least, brain computer. Brain computer interfaces provides a communication pathway between a person's brain waves and an external device such as a cursor on the screen. Person is trained to concentrate on the task moving the cursor. Brain computer interface work through detecting changes in the neural functioning in the brain. Now guys, $1 million question. Which interface is multimedia better than tangible interfaces for learning? Is speech as effective as command-based interface? Is multimodal interface is more effective than monomodal interface? Will wearable interfaces be better than mobile interfaces for helping people find information in foreign cities? Or virtual environment the ultimate interface for playing games? Will shareable interfaces be better at supporting communication and collaboration compared with using network desktop PCs? So, choosing an interface will depend on task, user, context, cost, robustness, mobile platforms taking over from PCs as we have seen in the last 5 years. Speech interfaces are also being used much more for a variety of commercial services. Appliance and vehicle interface becoming more important. Shareable and tangible interfaces entering our home, school, public places and workplaces. So in the first section of this lecture, week 3 lecture, we have tried to give you an overview of the diversity of interfaces that can be designed for user experience, identifying key design issues, research questions that need to be addressed. We have also tried to heighten the opportunities and challenges that lies ahead for the designer and researchers who are experimenting with and developing innovative interfaces. We have also tried to uh, explain some of the assumptions being behind the benefit of different interfaces. A number of interaction techniques that are particularly suited for a given type of interface We have also discussed the dilemmas facing designer when using a particular kind of interface, abstract versus realism, menu selection versus free form text input, human like versus non human like. Finally, we have tried to present pointers to specific design guidelines and exemplary systems that have been designed using given interface. So, folks, in a nutshell, key points to take away from this section are many interfaces have emerged after the GUI and the WIMP of Xerox era, and wearables are the most likely one which is now in nowadays. The Google glasses, mobiles and tangible. A range of design and research questions need to be considered when deciding which interface to use and what features to include. So-called natural user interfaces may not be as natural as graphical user interface. It depends on the task, user and the context. And very important, an important concern that underlines the design of any kind of interface is how information is represented to the user, be it speech, multimedia, reality, augmented reality, so that they can make sense of it with respect to their ongoing activities, playing a game, shopping online, or interacting with a pet robot. Thank you for listening. Okay, now let's start the second section, data gathering. How the data is gathered. What are the techniques, tools we use to gather the data? So here in this section we are going to touch on 5 key issues of data gathering, data recording techniques, interviews, questionnaires, observation, choosing and combining techniques to achieve and our objective. So 5 key issues should be considered: setting goals, deciding how to analyze data once collected, and identifying who are the stakeholders or participants. Decide who to gather data from. Relationship with participants, clear and professional, informs consent when appropriate. And triangulation. Look at the data from more than one perspective, and the pilot study, a prototype, or trial. Nowadays we have many options in data recording. We have audio, video, photograph, notes plus photograph, audio plus photograph, videos, all are the options. Interviews. There are different kind of interview. There could be unstructured one, structured, or semi-structured. In unstructured are not directed by a script, but not they are rich but not replicable. Structured one are tightly scripted, often like questionnaires. You have already sent the questionnaires in advance and expect the stakeholders or the participants to have the answers, precise answer ready. Semi-structured one are guided by a script also, but interesting issues can be explored in more depth from one question to another if a question was a leading question you have asked. Can provide a good balance between richness and replicability. Now to understand interview questions, what type of questions? There are two types of usually questions being asked, should be asked. One are the closed question, yes and no answer, and open question. They don't have a predetermined format. Closed questions are always easier to analyze. You can get what you want. So Some don'ts to avoid long questions, compound sentence, like split them into two, jargons and language that the interviewee may not understand, leading questions that make assumptions, why do you like, or what, unconscious biases, genders and stereotypes. So questionnaire design, a very important aspect to understand in data collection. The impact of a question can be influenced by the question order. Do you need different versions of questionnaires for different population? Yes and no. Provide clear instructions on how to complete the questionnaires. Strike a balance between using white space and keeping the questionnaires compact. Decide on whether phrases will all be positive, all negative, or mixed, depending what you are trying to get out of the always encourage a good response. Make sure purpose of study is clear, promise anonymity, ensure questionnaire is well defined, designed, offer a short version for those who do not have time to complete a long questionnaires. For example, when you go to executive and the CEO or the president, you should have very short to the point questionnaire. And follow up with the emails, phone calls, provide an incentive. 40% response rate is high, 20% is often acceptable. So don't have a high expectation uh, from the respondent. Observation, it helps a lot sometimes. Structuring frameworks, degree of participation, insiders or outsiders. Direct observation in a controlled environment is also recommended. Indirect observation, tracking user activities, and using the interaction logging diaries can also help. Choosing and combining techniques depends on the focus of the study, the nature of the technique, and resources available. So, in this section, data gathering, we have tried to present three main data gathering methods that are commonly used in interaction design: interviews, questionnaires, and observation. We have also tried to describe the planning and execution of each. In addition, we have touched upon on 5 key issues of data gathering and how to record the data gathered also. So, folks, in a nutshell, key point takeaway from this section are: all data gathering sections should have clear goals to begin with. Each planned data gathering session should be tested by running a pilot study. Triangulation involves investigating a phenomena from different perspectives. Data may be recorded using handwritten notes, audio, video recording, a camera, or any combination of these. There are 3 styles of interview: structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. Questionnaires may be paper-based, email, or web-based. Questions for an interview or questionnaires can be open or closed. Closed questions require the interview interview to select from a limited range of options. Open questions accept a free range response. Observation may be direct or indirect. In direct observation, the observer may adopt different levels of participation ranging from insiders to outsiders. Insider will have a participant observer, or outsider will be passive observer. Choosing appropriate data gathering techniques depends on the focus of the study, the participant involved, the nature of the technique, and the resource available. Thank you for listening. Now then, let's talk about the next topic in this week 3: data analysis, interpretation, and presentation of the information. So here we are going to discuss qualitative and quantitative differences between both simple quantitative analysis and simple qualitative tools to support the data analysis. Theoretical frameworks like grounded theory, distributed cognition, and very important activity theory to understand. Presenting the finding, rigorous notations, stories, summaries, all will be tried to cover. So quantitative and qualitative. As we all know, quantitative data is expressed as numbers, while qualitative data is difficult to measure, like count numbers of words to measure dissatisfaction. Quantitative analysis is a numerical method to ascertain size, magnitude, and amount, while qualitative analysis we expresses the nature of the elements and is represented as theme, pattern, story. Be careful how you manipulate data and the numbers. Simple quantitative analysis averages, means, median, modes. Which help us to rank, prioritize the things according to their importance. Percentages also help to understand where this issue or this point lies. And graphical representation are always good to have, like pie charts, bar charts, scattered diagrams, all help to analyze the data. Simple qualitative analysis, recurring patterns of themes emergent from data, dependent on observation, framework of use, categorizing data, and looking for critical incidents helps to focus on the key events. Now look at the tools to support data analysis. There are spreadsheets. They have been there for quite some time. They're simple to use, helps you to generate basic graphs. There are statistical packages like SPSS, very well known package, to do all kind of correlations analysis. Qualitative data analysis tools can help you to categorize theme based, like N6 is there. Quantitative analysis of text based data is also, and then there are many projects of the University of Surrey are being conducted. I would encourage you guys to go and explore this. Theoretical frameworks for qualitative analysis. Basing data analysis around theoretical framework provides further insight Three such frameworks are there. One is known as grounded theory, the other is distributed cognition, and the most important, activity theory. So let's talk about the grounded theory. Aims to drive theory from systematic analysis based on categorization approach, coding. There are three levels of coding: open, identify the categories; axial, flesh out and link to subcategories; selective, form theoretical scheme. Now look at the distributed cognition. The people, environment, artifacts are regarded as one cognitive system. They're used for analyzing collaborative work, focuses on information propagation and transformation. Okay, folks, let's talk about the activity theory. It explains human behavior in terms of our practical activity with the world, very important, provides a framework that focuses analysis around the concept of an activity and help to identify tensions between the different elements of the system. Two key models: one outlined what constitutes an activity, and one model the mediating role of artifacts. So the classic view of an activity has a subject which will perform an activity, an object on which the activity is performed. According to Engster and Nardi, who came up with this idea, they have widened the focus from individual triangle of a single activity like subject, activity, and object to include supra-individual concepts like tools, rules, community, and division of labors. By tools, it is meant the artifacts, signs, and the means that mediate the subject and the object. By community is meant those who share the same object. By rules is meant a set of agreed convention and policies covering what it means to be a member of that community, like laws, parents, managers, boards, and so forth. And by division of labor is meant the primary means of classifying the labor in a workplace, like manager, engineer, receptionist. The extended version allow consideration of networks of interrelated activity forming an activity system, as we can see in this slide. So how to present the findings? Only make claims that your data support. Do not get carried away. The best way to present your finding depends on the audience and the purpose and the data gathering and analysis undertaken. Graphical representation may be appropriate for the presentation. Other techniques could be rigorous notations like for an UML language, using stories to create scenarios, and summarizing the finding. So in this lecture, we have tried to describe in detail the differences between qualitative and quantitative data and between qualitative and quantitative analysis. Quantitative and qualitative data can be analyzed for patterns and trends using simple techniques and graphical representation. Qualitative data may be analyzed using a variety of approaches, including identifying categories, or themes, or using theoretical frameworks such as grounded theory, we have learned distributed cognition and activity theory. It has been noted that presenting the result is just as important as analyzing the data. Hence, it is important to make sure that any summary or claim arising from the analysis is carefully contextualized and can be justified by the data. So, folks, take away from this section are following key points. The kind of data analysis that can be done depends on the data gathering techniques used. Qualitative and quantitative data may be controlled from any of the main data gathering techniques like interviews, questionnaires, and observations. Quantitative data analysis for interaction design usually involve calculating percentages and averages. There are three different kinds of average: mean, mode, and median, which we are all familiar from our statistical and high school. Graphical representations of quantitative data help in identifying patterns, outliers, and the overall view of the data. Qualitative data analysis may be framed by theories. Three such theories are grounded theory, activity theory, and distributed cognition. Thank you for listening.